Welcome, everyone. So today we're going to tackle a skill that is absolutely crucial for anyone navigating a Mandarin-speaking environment, talking about money. This is about so much more than just numbers. It's really about giving you the confidence to handle everything from bustling street markets to big shopping malls. So let's dive right in.
All right, let's get started. Take a look at what we have on the screen here. This is a price you might see on any tag pretty much anywhere in China. 20块五. Our mission today is to completely deconstruct this. By the end of our session, you're going to understand every single part of it, not just what it means, but how to say it, and even the culture behind it.
The first thing to get your head around is that Chinese prices aren't just random words you have to memorize. They're actually built with these logical blocks, and they're put together in a very predictable, very systematic way. So let's take this phrase apart, piece by piece, and really see how this elegant system works.
Okay, so let's look at the very first part. 20. This is where things get really interesting, especially when you compare it to English. In English, the word 20 doesn't really have any connection to 2 or 10, right? It's its own unique word. But in Mandarin, the logic is just right there on the surface. You have 2, which is 2, and 10, which is 10. You are literally saying 2 tens. And this reveals a core principle of the Chinese number system. It's multiplicative, and it is incredibly systematic.
And this slide just perfectly illustrates the consistency of that system. This isn't some one-off rule, it's a foundational pattern. So if 210 is 20, then it just logically follows that sanshi is 310 or 30. And what about 40? Well, it's 40, 410, and so on. It's brilliant, really. Once you've learned the numbers 1 through 9 and the character for 10, you already have all the building blocks you need to construct every number up to 99. That's the kind of efficiency and logic we're going to keep seeing.
So we have our number, 20. But a number by itself doesn't make a price, does it? It needs a unit. 20 what? That brings us to the next, and I would argue maybe the most important building block in our entire phrase. And that character is kuai. In pretty much any daily transaction you can imagine, this is the word you're going to hear and the one you're going to use for the main unit of currency. Now, from a grammar perspective, this is a fascinating concept for English speakers. Kuai works as a measure word, or what we call a classifier. In English, we use measure words sometimes. We say a slice of pie or a pair of shoes. Well, Mandarin uses them for almost everything. You can't just say 20 money, you have to specify the unit. So you say 20 kuai, literally 20 units of currency.
Now, this is an absolutely crucial cultural and linguistic distinction to understand. While you're going to be saying kuai in your everyday conversations, if you actually pull out a Chinese banknote and look at it, you're going to see a different character, yuan. This is the formal official name for the currency, the renminbi. The relationship is kind of like saying bucks versus dollars in American English. Using kuai in a conversation instantly signals that you get the practical, living language, not just what you memorized from a government document. Mastering this little nuance is a huge step toward real fluency.
Excellent. So we've successfully decoded 20 kuai. That's 20 units of currency. But if you remember our original example, there was one more piece left, wasn't there? 20 kuai wu. This leads us to the next question we have to answer. What exactly is the grammatical and monetary function of that final character, wu? What's it doing?
And here it is, the final piece of our puzzle. When a number comes right after kuai with no other unit attached, it's representing the first decimal place. The full formal term is mao, which is 1/10 of a kuai. So technically, this is 5 mao, or 0.5. But in everyday, natural speech, people often just drop the mao. And that's exactly why 20块五 is the most common and natural way to say 20.50.
Okay, fantastic. We've taken the entire phrase apart, we've looked at all the pieces, and we understand what each part means. Now comes the most important step, putting it all back together and actually saying it correctly. Because let's be honest, knowing what it means is only half the battle. You have to be able to say it right so people can understand you.
Let's use this table to really practice this. Look at that first row, our original example. Listen very closely to the tones. First, R, that's a falling fourth tone. Then sh, a rising second tone. Then kuai, another sharp falling fourth tone. And finally wu, a falling rising third tone. Let's try it slowly. R, sh, kuai, wu. Good. Now, at a more natural pace, R, sh, kuai, wu. Okay, now let's look at the second example, shi wu kuai. Shi wu kuai. Here we have a rising second tone, sh, followed by a falling rising third tone, wu, and we finish with that same strong fourth tone, kuai, slowly, shi, wu, kuai, and at a natural pace, shu, wu, kuai. Getting that melody, that flow is absolutely key.
As you're practicing on your own, please be aware of these common pitfalls. These are the things that trip students up all the time. First, tonal accuracy on kuai is non-negotiable. It has to be a sharp falling kuai, not a questioning kuai or a flat kuai. It makes a huge difference. Second, a lot of learners confuse the initial sounds sh and si. For sh, 10, the tip of your tongue needs to curl back just a little bit. For si, 4, it stays flat right behind your teeth. The difference between 10 and 4 is pretty significant, right? And finally, try to avoid a choppy robotic rhythm. Listen to how native speakers talk. There's a natural linkage and flow between the syllables.
So after breaking it all down, what we have is a simple 3-step process you can use pretty much every single time. This is your formula. First, you say the whole number. Second, you add that essential measure word, kuai. And third, if you need it, you add the decimal number at the end. This pattern is your key to saying almost any price you're ever going to encounter.
So let's end with a little challenge to put what you've learned into immediate practice. On the screen, you see the price, 58 kuai. Now, using the logic we've just discussed, how would you say this out loud? Think about how to construct the number 58, and then remember to add our all-important measure word. This is how you bridge the gap from just understanding to actually speaking. Take a moment, think it through. Excellent work today.